I wanted to play in the NFL, took that as far as I could go, went to the Division I level, got injured a lot. And then I was in school. I was actually studying engineering. Thought that was the path I was going to go down. I had a mentor. He pulled me aside, said, "Hey, why are you doing engineering?" And I just said, I mean, you make the most money right out of college. So long story short, he convinces me to drop out of school with about a year left. And he starts teaching me everything about marketing. The first 2 years, I don't do so hot. And I made maybe $2,000 over 2 years. Finally, I got desperate. I turned 25. So now I'm 25. It's been a couple years. Nothing's happened. I'm starting to think about going back to school. And I see an ad on Facebook, it's like how to start your online fitness business. I click on it and pay him $5,000. I think I had $2,000 to my name and put $3,000 on a credit card. And the first week I made $10K. And then that year I made $1 million. And that did so well, and I started getting some recognition. So I started consulting trainers, and then that did super well. And then I started consulting other businesses. So I went 0 to 8 figures in 18 months. And then I, took 4 years and got to 25 million a year. And I had a staff of 100. So in short, I basically built a really successful online fitness company. And then because of that success, people started asking for help. And so I kind of fell into consulting.
A lot of businesses make so many different mistakes because you see the stats, like the first 5 years, the first 10 years, you see how many businesses go down and under. You see even like massive companies go down and under as well. What, in your experience with the people that you've consulted and with as well, what's the biggest mistake businesses usually make?
Well, number one would be...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Code to Winning Insights you need today to seize the world tomorrow. Today we have an amazing guest. I've been looking forward to interviewing him for a while. Actually, I reached out to him last week. Now we're in the heart of Miami, the Sunshine State. It's an honor to actually have Tanner Chidester, if I'm not butchering that. Tanner Chidester, right?
Yeah, that's close enough, yeah.
Awesome stuff, man. I'm sorry, my accent, I think, makes things either sound better or completely butchered, so please forgive me.
You're good. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome stuff. Right, brother, I don't know what it is. I don't know what you've done. I don't know what funnel you're using, but you keep popping up on my Facebook every bloody day. Yeah. So I want to cut down to the chase. I love your marketing. I love what you've been doing, but you've been popping up for a while now. So there's something that you're definitely doing right. And I want to just kind of go into a lot about obviously consulting, sales, everything that you end up doing, and that our viewers can actually gain a lot of golden nuggets from your insights as well. Before we start, can you give us a brief introduction of who you are?
Yeah. So I'll just try to go briefly. So I got 6 siblings, group of 1 to 7 kids. Dad was a teacher. Mom stayed at home. Didn't have a lot growing up, so I always wanted to, be better off. And I wanted to play in the NFL. Took that as far as I could go. Went to the Division I level, got injured a lot. And then I was in school. I was actually studying engineering. Thought that was the path I was going to go down. I had a mentor. He pulled me aside, said, "Hey, why are you doing engineering?" And I just said, I mean, you make the most money right out of college. And he goes, I mean, you could make way more doing other stuff. So long story short, he convinces me to drop out of school with about a year left. And he starts teaching me everything about marketing. The first 2 years, I don't do so hot. And I made maybe $2,000 over 2 years. So I was working a full-time job, and I was doing the business on the side. But I didn't really understand there was coaching and consulting. I didn't know that stuff. I didn't even know this was a thing. And so finally, I got desperate. I turned 25. So now I'm 25. It's been a couple years. Nothing's happened. I'm starting to think about going back to school. And I see an ad on Facebook, it's like how to start your online fitness business. I click on it and pay him $5,000. I think I had $2,000 to my name and put $3,000 on a credit card. And the first week I made $10K. And then that year I made $1 million. And that did so well, and I started getting some recognition. So I started consulting trainers, and then that did super well. And then I started consulting other businesses. So I went 0 to 8 figures in 18 months. And then I, took 4 years and got to 25 million a year. And I had a staff of 100. So in short, I basically built a really successful online fitness company. And then because of that success, people started asking for help. And so I kind of fell into consulting. It wasn't really a plan at all. In fact, I hated most consultants, to be honest with you. So.
I love that so much. And so were you born and raised in Florida, or which state was it?
I was born in Utah. I grew up there till I was about 8. My family is Mormon, right? Pretty religious. And then I moved to Houston when I was 8. And then I was living in Houston. The funny part is I was getting an apartment out there, and then it got taken out from under me at the last second. Like the realtor told me I could have it, but then they gave it to someone else.
Okay.
And I said, okay, let me just go to Miami, and I Airbnb'd here for 2 months, and I loved it, so I moved out here.
When was that?
Oh man, 5-6 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 5-6 years ago.
Matter of fact, we were coming from Utah side, like Salt Lake around that
Yeah,
area.
I like as a kid, think it was fine, but as I'm an adult now, I won't do the snow. Anywhere there it snows, I just won't live there. Yeah, I just hate it. I don't know why.
You wouldn't have liked Idaho because
No,
I
yeah.
schooled in Rexburg, and
Yeah.
so that weather is. There's only two weathers. There's like winter, and there's a bit of like fall, and there's like crazy winter. So
Yeah.
you choose from those. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? But
yeah.
now I'm grateful that you're here, and I know that I noticed like Miami is almost like the mecca of like online fitness. You know what I'm saying? There's just a lot of like online fitness instructors, coaches, and so forth as well. Would you say it's a saturated market? I mean, you've been here for a while, and you kind of like.
Well, I mean, I'm not doing the fitness solely anymore. Like I've really moved more into the consulting side. I think. Yeah, I mean, Miami does seem to have a lot of that. Like when I moved out here, that wasn't really the reason I moved out here. I moved out here just because I liked it. There is obviously a big, I would say, number of people out here who do, coaching, consulting, online type stuff. I think it's also a big fitness state. Like everyone's in shape here usually because, it's sunny year round, stuff like that. But yeah, I would say just across the board, competition's higher now than it was, 4 or 5 years ago. Like when it was COVID, I was making money like hand over fist, a lot of money. And, when COVID ended, I was still making a lot of money, but things went quote unquote back to normal. And so it wasn't, I think that's part of business too, is when things are going well, you think it's all you. Things are going bad, you think it's all you. Usually it's in the middle. It's a little bit of both.
That's true.
But yeah, I would say it's more saturated in general. I don't know if it's just Miami, but just in general, it's a lot more saturated than it used to be.
No, I love that so much. And I noticed when you say that, I just realized like it's almost like 4 or 5 years since COVID hit. Like it's a crazy
It's been a
time.
while.
And I think when I look back at that point in time where everyone was like, it was almost like the Great Recession kind of thing where things were just going down and under. That was more like the e-commerce and online kind of like consulting and form of businesses. And I feel like most entrepreneurs either went down and you got a lot of opportunities that actually made a breakthrough. Was that the same thing for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just ironic because I was scaling pretty drastically at that time. So at that time, every month I was going up about 150,000 a month. I was going really fast, and I think part of it was probably I was doing pretty good at what I was doing, but I think the other part of it was COVID. So if you think about, I'm doing consulting, how to start online business, and COVID, everyone was trying to go online. So it just, the amount of leads and the intent of people was really high. So for me, it was a gold rush. I guess you say I felt a little guilty during that time because some people were doing so bad.
Yeah.
And so it made me feel a little guilty because I was like, man, I hope it stays like this forever. But I just think it was the nature of my business. And that's kind of what I mean in business is if you hit stuff at the right time, at the right moment, sometimes that plays into it, right? And, during that time, I was crushing. I mean, it was really easy.
I love that. I like that you just mentioned that, and I want to kind of also share an example. Like personally for me, matter of fact, around COVID, I did an internship in New York at that time. It was in Manhattan. Or still like in financial economics, whatever it was. But I was fortunate enough to actually have a one-on-one sit down with Michael Bloomberg, who at the time was the 10th richest man in the world. Yeah. And he shared something which was very unique when I asked him, how did you make $80 billion? And he said, like, number one, I happened to just be lucky. I entered the market when it was just like in the perfect opportunity, in the perfect timing. He got fired in one job, and then like they were starting something where in Wall Street there was no specific computers that actually had all data and all the science and everything as well. By starting that thing, it was an opportunity for him to like outsource towards Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, hedge funds, small funds, law firms. They're everywhere right now. You see a Bloomberg terminal, and I feel like just seeing the trajectory, because I mean I've always seen your stuff a while back, but it's just like it's blowing up nonstop, like, and so you can see the trajectory there. Like I'm saying, I mean, I'm in the bathroom just taking a normal dump. I see Tanner just like right there, So one of the things you're doing well, it's not just the consultant part, it's the marketing side. So I'm fascinated by consulting because I feel like people often feel very plateaued and they're very stagnant with their business. They're just making 100,000. Utah's a sales door-to-door industry, and they make a lot of money.
I worked for Alder. I don't know if they're still around, but yeah. Yeah, I worked. Yeah, I sold for Oliver
Alarms,
for a couple.
right?
Yeah, a couple
Where
of
did you
years.
sell?
Sold in Alabama, sold in Texas. Alabama was a lot easier, but yeah, I was a rookie, and it was. I mean, it was brutal. I did for 9 months too. Actually, yeah, because I didn't. I said a couple of years. I did for 9 months straight, and then I was gonna move into year round, is what they call it. And then right when year round was about to hit, I started doing. I took that like online course, right, and then things started to blow up, and then I stepped away from it. But that actually is one of the reasons I've been really successful is door-to-door sales 100%, because I can sell anything, and I just having that many reps per day, it's just you can't get that many reps online. Can't get that many. Like I was getting 100 reps a day. You can't do that in online sales or anything like that.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
No, I love that so much. So how though? How do you? What are the strategies that you use to like upscale? Because I feel like
Sure.
sometimes you're at the point where you get businesses that are just very stagnant at maybe making like $100,000. Like how can you upscale that to like maybe a $200,000 or $300,000?
Yeah. So in the first part, I would say like let's just say traditional online high ticket business. There's a lot, but let's just say you're selling something $1,500 to $5,000 or more. Usually, most people I see who are good at sales, like they're good at the skills, like sales, messaging. They can do a little bit of automations. They can pretty much just push their way to 100,000 a month, and they only need like 4 employees. The problem for most people is when they start to scale, it's 2 things. Then the first thing is they don't know how to hire a team, right? And once you get past 100,000 a month, give or take, that's where your business will only grow as much as your team. And a lot of people, they don't make very good hiring decisions. I think of hiring as a marriage. A lot of people think of it as like, just a date, and it's like it's very different from that. So a lot of entrepreneurs I see that are really good at doing, they're very good at getting other people to do it. So they struggle there. Number 2 is really the offer. So I have a lot of context around this. I've done as high as $2 million a month in this industry. Realistically, the issue, I didn't know this until I had done it for a few years, is I couldn't get past $2 million a month. I know a lot of people are like, boo-hoo, but for me, I just thought I was going to grow forever. And I started to realize that information itself, once people get it, it's not valuable anymore, right? So if I tell you something you don't know now, it's really valuable. But as soon as I tell you, you need more. And there comes a point in business, in my opinion, where it's not any more information, it's just execution. And so because of that, you have a lot of churn in this industry. And so if you go into a different industry, most of the billionaires I've interviewed or talked to, they're usually in tech, hedge funds, or private equity. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is that fulfillment does not scale as it scales. So if you have tech and it does everything, as you scale, maybe a couple more customer service agents, but that's pretty much it. Or private equity, you're just, rolling companies in together. Or, you do a hedge fund, it's, hey, like we're going to do the same strategy, give me all your money. Mm-hmm. So the issue in this industry is, number 1 is most entrepreneurs that can't build the team. And then number 2 is just the offer itself. And I didn't really understand that. But I think for me, when I saw Alex Becker move industries, I saw Sam Evans, I saw Alex Hormozi, I said, okay, these guys were all doing the numbers I was doing. Why are they leaving? And it started to add up and make sense. And then when I started interviewing other billionaires and multimillionaires and people who sold, I think I have a document like 40 million to 4 billion. It just made none of them were in this industry. And so it goes back to what Warren Buffett talks about, is it's more about what vehicle you're in or boat versus like how hard you're rowing, right?
Wow.
And so it's not good or bad. I mean, this industry has perks. Like it's a very high cash flow industry, but in terms of, selling it or equity or enterprise value, it's just not that type of business.
No, that's so powerful. And I kind of want to go back to what you were saying when you say, usually when a company makes about 100,000, then it's about like the people that you end up hiring as well. You know what I'm saying? And I think I've often heard, you've seen sales, it's just that it's crazy turnover. You get new people all the damn time. Yeah. What would you say then is a key factor in trying to get like people that can buy into the like your vision and can actually grow the company and themselves at the same time?
Yeah. I think I've been pretty blessed in that regard. Like I know how people tick, and I think I'm a pretty straight shooter. So, I mean, ultimately it just comes down to what you can count on is everyone's going to do what's best for them. Mm-hmm. So the best way is, how can you incentivize what you want to also be what they want, mm-hmm. right? So like by them doing what you need, they're going to get what they want. So for example, in sales, what I used to see, I see this all the time actually, it drives me nuts. I'll see a person who is hiring a sales team and they overhire, and they're thinking, well, we have all these calls. And I'm like, yeah, but a lot of the calls really shouldn't have been scheduled. They're not good quality. So what happens is all these reps are taking tons of calls and they're not closing, they're not making money, and they have a lot of turnover. What I realized, at least when I was doing, I said, you know, what type of calls would I want if I was taking the sales calls as a rep? So one of the things I did for my company is we had a really strict canceling process or application, you could say. So we'd cancel, 20% of our calls versus keep them all on the calendar. What would happen is we cancel calls over time we're like, they're probably not going to close. So the reps, they're not getting perfect calls, but they're getting pretty solid looks. And so what happens is they're making the money they want, and they're happy because they feel like we're going to bat for them, and so they're willing to go bat for us. Like if you think from a business owner, you just want people to take as many calls as possible. Like you don't really care. Exactly. But the problem with that type of thinking is over the long haul, like you said, they're not going to stick around because they're not making the money they want. And part of that, when I saw in sales, was just we're just letting some leads on the call that really weren't qualified to talk. And I think that goes across the board in all manner of business. So the easiest way is just pretend you were doing that job, and how would you want the CEO to set it up for you if you were doing it? And usually that's the right way to set it up.
Awesome stuff. And Alvin, you'd agree, obviously, having like about 25 stallions is way better than just having obviously 100 bunch of employees.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, at $2 million a month, I would have 4 sales reps.
Wow.
People can't believe that. But the thing was, like, part of it is like you have recurring revenue, you have upgrades, but the other part is just we had that process dialed in. And so, we were doing, I'd say most of the guys, we make about 5 sales a day on average at about 16,000 minimum. So the guys would all make, I could count on each rep, hey, they're gonna make at least 1 sale a day. And so if you do the math, like they were making, 20, 30,000 plus a month each, if not more. And that worked well. And I could have had more reps, but the problem with that is then the pay goes down. They're not as good. Like to me, it's better to have 4 people making 20K plus versus having 8 people making 10K. They're not as good. And I just think it's like anything, like really good people are looking for the best opportunities, and that's how you got to think about your business.
No, I love that so much. It's very insightful. And this kind of also even segues to what I feel a lot of businesses make so many different mistakes, because you see the stats, like the first 5 years, the first 10 years, you see how many businesses go down and under. Yeah. You see even like massive companies go down and under as well. What, in your experience with the people that you've consulted and with as well, what's the biggest mistake businesses usually make?
I mean, number one is, I think is twofold. Number one would be they don't know their numbers. So if someone can come to me and bring me their numbers, I can tell them exactly what to do. I've done this for so long now, it's almost like clockwork. I just see the numbers and I'm like, here's your issue, fix this, this is what you need to do. Most people don't have data, and so they're making emotional decisions. Like I'll say, well, how do you know that? Oh, I just know. That's a terrible way to run a business. And then number two, it really just goes back to the team. Like if you think about it, if you had no skills, but you can hire people in place of you to do a job, you'll be rich. That's the hardest skill to come by. It usually doesn't work that way. Usually as you build skills, you know how those things work, so you can hire someone, right? I would say, like, for example, I have 3 tech companies, but I've been lucky. I would say I've been more lucky than I know exactly who to hire, right? Like my first 2 hires were bad, and then the third one I kind of figured out what to do. But because I've never coded before, I don't know it as well as sales. Like I can tell almost from hearing someone and just hearing one, like 5 minutes of a call, I'm like, they're good, they're bad, right? So I would say those are probably the 2 biggest things. Like ultimately, it's like they don't know their numbers and they can't hire the team. And I wish it was more complex than that, but it's really not. It's just if you can't hire a team, you're going to be bottlenecked and you're not going to grow, and you're going to be stuck. You'll be, you can make decent money, but you'll always be working a lot.
I love that. And I also noticed, I think you mentioned this earlier on, sometimes people hire for the sake of hiring. They overhire,
right.
They bring in a lot of people, and so then you end up having a high payroll, and the majority of the company is expenses. It just goes to salaries as well. Then before you know it, there's way more people than actual work that's been done as well. And I think I've noticed this, but you've seen a lot of in Utah. There's a lot of these smaller companies that are super successful, but only have about 2-3 people that are literally generating majority of the income for the company as well. And I think steady growing is so important, rather than just just a sharpshooter. Then you end up like collapsing as well. You see that a lot, don't you see?
Yeah, I would even say my company, like there was a point where we had 100 staff. We're a little leaner now, but what happens is as you're growing, you have other people in place, and I don't know if it's probably it's also ultimately it's always the CEO's fault. It's how you have to look at it, but you'll have a manager in place and they say, hey, we need someone else to come in and do this, when in reality maybe they don't, but the business is so big at that point you can't micromanage everything. And so what's interesting is I think a lot of times as businesses get bigger, you do overhire. Like maybe you hire for 2 other positions where realistically someone could do all 3. Like they could do 3 of them, a really good player on your team. But instead you haven't hired the best players, and they're like, oh, we need a dedicated person for each role, when in reality, like you don't always need that. So I think to your point, you always want to hire at the last minute, and that's how I do it. Some people, they like to hire before. I always like to hire when it hurts. Like I just wait till it hurts and then I hire someone, like to the point where, if we don't hire someone, we cannot grow anymore because we have too many clients, or we have too many leads, or we have too many calls, or whatever the issue is. I think a lot of people do it backwards.
Oh, that's powerful. I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, you've seen how the markets have been going lately, and obviously it's volatile, and things are going to get better.
Yeah.
My question, just in case they don't, in situations such as COVID, many people were not prepared, and so many businesses were not like recession-proof. Mm-hmm. Today, what would you say or recommend to help somebody build a recession-proof business?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the easiest way to win is to have low competition. The way to have low competition is you have to be super unique. But the hard part about being unique is it's unique, right? So you have to come up with the idea. So I'll give you 2 examples. I have 2 clients right now, just high ticket. Like, like for example, you could go into tech. Pulling tech off is hard, but if you can pull it off, you can make a lot of money, right? It's also valuable every month because people have to keep paying for it, stuff like that. But if you were just talking like high ticket industry, 2 clients I have right now that come to mind. One's offer is how to get a green card. He basically can almost guarantee a green card or close to it. And his application will say, this is $15,000. Can you pay for it? I mean, it's insane. Like, I'm just have an application that just puts the price. He does very well, but there's not a lot of people who know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know how to get you a green card. So that's unique, right? I have another client who she says, I'll help your college age student get into an Ivy League school with 90% success rate. She crushes it. I don't want to mention the names, but she just signed up a couple governors, like state governors and stuff. Like, she crushes. I mean, absolutely insane. She made $600,000 last year, all referrals. She didn't know what an ad was. She had 3,000 followers on social media. I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Now she's running ads and she's making even more, right? But I think to that point, Hormozy came out with a book too. Alex Hormozy, $100 million offers. I was doing that for a long time. I just didn't realize it. Like, if you look at that book, really, if you broke the book down to 1 page, it's the 4 quadrants, right? It talks about determined outcome, perceived likelihood of risk, time delay, and then effort. And I was doing that. I just didn't know how to explain it to someone. And ultimately, that's really what it comes down to. So some of my clients who do better, they just have unique offers. Or you go into a better industry. And when I say better industry, is just like tech, hedge funds, private equity. The thing I noticed with a lot of the billionaires I spoke to were super mega rich people is they had easy to know fulfillment. So when you think of tech, like as the demand goes up, there's really not more fulfillment, right? Like I've paid, I don't know if you're familiar with Hyros, Alex Becker. It's an ad tracking software.
Yeah.
I mean, we pay them money all the time and they don't do anything. But I mean, because like the software works, but they don't do anything, like nothing. And they get paid a lot of money from us. They're like, you either got to go that direction and like I would call more traditional business, right? Because like this space really is super small. I didn't realize that when I was growing up because it was just what I was taught to do and throw in. But like, there's so much more business out there than just like online coaching or online courses or whatever. So you either go that route, which for most people, like it feels uncomfortable because they have to learn a new thing. That's kind of the direction I've headed. Like I've started to do that. Or you got to have a very unique offer. And like just for example, like what I do, consulting, I wouldn't say it's that unique. There's a million people who will say they can consult. Now they might not be able to do it, but the market doesn't know that. The thing is, if you can do something that not a lot of other people do, that makes the biggest difference. And the benefit of that too is if you're not that skillful, like some of my clients are not that good at, sales. They're not that good at, but their offer's so good, it just makes everything work better.
Wow.
So.
No, man, that's powerful. I actually like how you just broke it down. I always thought about this question. I mean, we've attended a lot of the conferences. I always try to find myself in the right room with the right people. I always feel like these are all investments. I go out my way. But I've always wanted to ask this question personally. Like, do you think it's harder to go from 100,000 to 1 million, or from 1 million to 10 million, from your experience with the people that you've dealt with?
Oh, man. I mean, I'd say it's probably 100 to 1 million. Probably. I mean, they're both pretty difficult. I haven't, like, per month, like, I've only gotten a 2 million a month, so, like, I can't say, like, 10 million a month. I've done, like, 1 to 10, but really, like, once you're at 1, you're just doing more of the same stuff. I would say, like, getting to 1, that pushed me the most, because you have to learn how to hire and train and manage a team. The hardest part about managing and training a team, I mean, is just really if you make the wrong hires. Every wrong hire you make just puts the business behind. And my tolerance now is much lower. Like, when I remember when I was building the business at first, I had a really low tolerance. I was probably too rude to people. I was very cutthroat. I just said, like, get it done, or, like, don't work here. As I matured, I think I got pushed too far the other way. Like, I had a mentor who said, Tanner, not everyone thinks like you. Not everyone is wired the way you're wired. You got to, like, calm down. You got to stop, like, And I think that was terrible advice, because what happened is I started hiring people where I was like, he's okay. He'll work, and he's a little different, but it's fine. But what ends up happening is, if they don't hold your values, well, then when push comes to shove and they're in a tough situation, they're going to pick their value. And so, for example, for me, if I have someone who they don't want to work hard, they're not like a straight shooter, right? You call it radical candor, whatever. They don't have competitive greatness. Like, I don't want them to work for me. And people go like, oh my gosh, like, why does that matter? Because they're the ones who are going to grow my business. So the decision means everything. And if they don't think of it that way, things go wrong. So I would say that was why it was so hard. Once you build the team and you have a pretty good team, from there, it's just all numbers. So you just identify the bottlenecks. And a lot of times, I would say for most businesses, what do they want? Leads and sales.
That's true. But my question with that, though, the hardest thing is, yes, you get the team and you incentivize them. You lead them the right way. But eventually there comes a point where they're like, maybe I can do this thing for myself. Why should I stick around as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't ran into that too much, every once in a while, but most people who go off on their own, I think they get smacked in the face a little bit. It's very, like, what happens is when they're in the business, they see all the leads coming in and they assume, this is what sales guys do, right? Oh yeah, man, like, leads are easy to get. I'm like, why are the calls so bad lately? I'm like, yeah, dude, go get your own leads. People will go out and then they realize, like, having your own business means you have to find your own leads. That's the hardest part. The absolute hardest part of any business is getting leads. If you get enough leads, anything you sell will technically work.
Exactly.
Like Mr. Beast, he puts out a piece of chocolate. I don't know if it's good or not. Let's say it's subpar, but he has such a high distribution, it'll work. So, I haven't really ran into issues with that. I think some people know who they are. Both my brothers, actually, they work in companies. They worked for me for 4 years. Now they work for Hermosi. So they're pretty good. But they understand that. And so what I tell people is I say, look, you'll either have the stress of being an employee, you don't know what's going to happen all the time. My brother, like, I shouldn't say my brother, but I let the cat out of the bag. But like, he was in the company that possibly might sell, and then the sell wasn't going to go through. And so a lot of the promises they made, they're not able to keep now. And it's not really like they're lying. It's just the sell isn't going through. So they're like, oh yeah, when the sell goes through, you get this and this, right? You can't control that. Or if you're the owner, the benefit of being the owner is, like, that stuff can happen, but because you're the owner, you're always going to eat to some degree. At least you can fix it. Like, let's say you have a bad month or even you lose money, you can let go of people and stuff like that. So I think a lot of times in life, you're going to have stress either way. You just kind of choose what stress you want.
I love that.
And, you'll be stressed at 10 million a month. You'll be stressed at $1 million a month. You'll be stressed at no money a month. It's just kind of different things.
Just choose your stress, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
and so, I mean, your trajectory has just been upward for a while right now. And would you say a lot of the contributing factors is the fact that you're also finding yourself in the right rooms. Like, how do you constantly keep upscaling? Because from where you were to where you're going, there is a path, and people can, I mean, the blueprint's there, but not everyone's doing it. You know what I'm saying? There has to be something that you're doing right that stands out, that can help people to actually kind of follow the same trajectory as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so when I started, I hired 5 coaches in the first 5 months.
Could you mention their names by any chance, or even one or two? Monroe's one of them?
No, never paid Alex. We're just friends. One of them is Sterling Griffin. He's not in the industry anymore. And then,
but why 5? Wouldn't it be a conflict of interest?
Well, yeah. So that's what I was gonna get into. The reason is I'm a really hard worker, but I was new to this, and so what I did is I would come in and I would, work harder than anyone. It felt like, and within 30 days, like what they told me wasn't working. And so what a lot of people do is they say, hey, the program's 3 months, it's 4 months, I'm gonna wait. And I just said, dude, I'm doing like what they said 10 times. If it's not getting me the result, like screw that, I'm gonna move on. So within 5 months, I'd hired 5 people, and by the 5th one, I was so frustrated because I just, do this, and it just wouldn't work. And really, most of them, what was happening is, they were all teach me webinars, and I couldn't get the webinars to convert for whatever reason, right? And finally, what I did is on the 5th coach, I got really pissed off, and I basically just was like, having words with him. And he said, something to the effect of, like, shut the F up and do the work or get a refund. And because of my personality, I just took that as a challenge. I said, all right, I'll show this guy. And so what happened is ManyChat just came out. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but for anyone listening, it's just, it would activate a message. So someone could click on your ad and then it would open a messenger. And this was new at the time. This isn't very new now, but at the time it was like the hot stuff. It was like AI. And so what I did is I just got home and I opened all my messages and I started following up with people. And that week I made 18 grand. And I said, oh shit, like I figured it out. And then I just put on the gas, and that was like a big part of my journey for 2 years. Like I was untouchable because it was new and it was hot, and that's the way I was marketing to my clients. So that was that. I would say just like hiring a lot of people really fast. And then what happened, ironically, was after I had a lot of success, people wanted to meet me. So like a funny story is I'm good friends with Alex now, but this was years ago, and he reached out to me to like meet, and I was like, nah, like I'm good, because I thought he wanted me to sell his stuff, which sounds ironic now, but I just thought he was still at Gym Launch, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna promote your supplements, because I was like big in the fitness industry online and stuff. And about a year goes by, and then we get put in a group chat, and then he reaches out to me again. I was like, oh gosh, I better do it, because it'll be awkward, like if he sees me replying in the chat, but then like I ignore him, right? So anyways, like we had a conversation. He was really cool. He didn't ask for anything. We just met, and we've been good friends, I would say, since. But that just came from like I would just say from being successful. And so at that time, he was looking for different people who were also being successful. And so I would say it's those two things. Like if you don't know, if you're not getting the results you want, you must not know something. And so to me, it doesn't really make sense to be prideful and not pay someone, right? Like I've never understood that. It's like you're stuck. Well, I already paid someone. It's like, didn't work. So, and like in school, that stuff happens all the time. You get a teacher, you don't hire a teacher, but you pay for a course or whatever, it doesn't work. But in this space, it's crazy. People, the way they look at it, it's like, dude, like you paid for stuff in college or you pay for stuff online, it doesn't work. Who cares? Like just move on. And I think a lot of people get caught in that. So I move probably 10 times faster than the average person. And that helped me because, I've spent $3 million on coaching at this point. Most people, like, they'll spend $10K in a year and they quit and they cry. And that's actually what got me into this industry, is because when I had those 5 coaches, it was about 50 grand. It was about 10K a coach, give or take. And I almost quit 5 times. I remember calling my mentor. I was like, bro, like I'm killing myself. And like all the money I'm making from these organic sales, I'm giving to these coaches. I remember my dad, he even said, son, like, why don't you just hold on to the money? You'd be richer. And he had a point, but I knew I had to figure out paid ads. And, I think that's just really set me apart and blessed me, because a lot of people, like, they kind of sit there, and I just said, look, I did what this guy said. It didn't work. I'm going to move on. So instead of going 3 or 4 months, I just moved on, and it paid dividends, so I'm kind of glad I did that, but I don't think most people would.
And I think that's one thing I did notice. Like I said, I attend a lot of conferences. I attend a lot of business. We were supposed to attend the one right now at the 10X Business Summit, but we missed it because of our flights. Everything's been happening. And so I've always found myself in the rooms with the right people. At the same time, with my experience, I've always, I've paid some of the coaches, and I'm like, I'm not getting anything out of this. I feel like this guy got this thing. It's like copy and paste from somebody else as well. But then you end up like sometimes not even paying as much for somebody else. It gives you so much of more value. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's what you do in the situation that you're in. And that's one thing I noticed. Like I'm gonna go to 10X, and even if some of the speakers like might just be slightly repetitive, I'm gonna find my way with shake the hands with the right people, meet the right people, go to the right parties, go to the right this thing, make a business transaction, get a connection there, add a bit of value. And I think it's important because if you look at it that way, you'll always have a scarcity mindset. Think, hey, I'm always losing money. So I'm grateful you mentioned, because mentors are important. You cannot always get there without getting the right mentors as well.
Yeah, and just for the listeners, 80% of mentors are not going to move the needle. But 8 out of 10 girls you date are not going to be your wife, right? I mean, I just don't get people's you just have to compare apples to apples. So what happens though is when you have a bad mentor, quote unquote, is you learn what not to do. And it reinforces it. If you pay 10 grand or 20 grand and it's a bad experience, trust me, you're going to learn not to do that. So I just think a lot of people, they have that negative mindset. But the problem with it is I used to be like that. I said, man, if I just hadn't paid those 5 coaches and figured this out sooner, but it's like you wouldn't have figured it out. Mm-hmm. And that took me a few years of maturity to realize, because I used to blame these coaches. And when I was new in the space, I didn't really realize how hard it is to run a business at scale. Right. And so I would, they're doing this wrong, and this sucks, and this sucks. And I was a really good student. And, I probably was too hard on people. And then I started running my own business at scale, and I was like, okay, I understand some of the issues they're having now. Right. But, 80% of the stuff I've paid for did not directly move the needle, but I learned what not to do. And sometimes that's just how it works. Like you pay someone and you get the results you're hoping for, or you pay someone and you don't, but you're going to learn either way, and that just is part of success, in my opinion. You can't skip it, so the faster you fail, the faster you'll be successful.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Now, back to consulting. I love this consulting part. If there's a new business owner, somebody out there that's probably watching, starting a small business, and they're in the field, what would you say is the first area they should try and focus on to try and either audit or improve on?
It's the offer. So I'll try to explain this as best I can because it's not visual. When I think of an offer and you're trying to sell it, right? A lot of people, what they do, this drives me crazy in sales, is they say, I do this and I do this and I do this and we'll do this for you. And the problem with that, in my opinion, is they've talked to 10 other sales reps. So I think, what is every sales rep saying? We're the best. We're the best. We're going to do this. It's amazing. That doesn't really do anything, because the person at the end of the day, they get more confused because they hear what you're saying. They've heard someone else. They're like, they both sound good. So one of the things I work on with a lot of clients in the beginning is I call it the 3 pillars. And the 3 pillars are just really, what's the 3 main things you do to move the needle? So for me, I'll just give an example. If I'm a business consultant for you, it's offer, lead generation, and then probably helping you determine who the right coach is, right? And so hypothetically, what I would do, let's just use the offer, really simple. If I was explaining this on a sales call, I'd say, look, what most people do, the first thing you need to fix is your offer, right? Can we agree on that? Yeah, okay, cool. What most people do is this is why it doesn't work, and that's why it's a bad path. What we do is this is why it does work, and this is why you need to do it. So what it does is it creates a little dichotomy and comparison, and what I notice is when clients do that, they make way more sales. Because the person, remember, they don't actually understand what to do, right? They're a little lost. So, for example, if I was buying perfume, let's say I'm buying perfume for my girlfriend. I go to the store and I ask a bunch of reps, and they say, this is the best one, this is the best one, this is the best one. I just get more confused. I'm like, okay. But if one of the reps sits down and goes, look, Tanner, this is the worst type of perfume, and this is why, it has this ingredient. The best ones have this ingredient, so I'd recommend this one. That makes you feel like, I get it, right? And so I think a lot of business owners, hopefully that made sense, it wasn't too complex, but a lot of business owners, they don't do that. So when they're selling, they just sound like everyone else. And then on top of the fact their offer is not unique. So if you're a fitness coach, I used to be a fitness coach, or you're a business consultant or a business coach or whatever, you're already not unique. You're in a very red market. And so if you can't make that comparison, they're just going to go, okay, you sound like everyone else. And to a degree, you have to. You can't, like, there's only so many ways to make a business consultant unique or a fitness coach unique. Like, you can't, it's like eat less, move more, like get leads, make sales. Like, you can't make it that different. So I think that part is really important. I can expand on that, but hopefully I wasn't too confusing.
No, I love that so much. And I'm glad you kind of touched on that. And obviously being right now coming from the Utah area, you know, it's a door-to-door industry. It's sales reps like crazy. Right now it's recruiting season. It's ridiculous. But my only concern with that, you'd be surprised. Like, I mean, I was in this industry for a while, probably 5-6 years, but it's the same damn pattern each time. It's like, go out for 4 months, and then if you want to try, I did like a year round with solar for about like 2-3 years as well, but it's almost the same thing. Like, it's almost like, okay, well, what's the next challenge? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's like, yes, I remember my first year of solar making 100,000. We were on top of the world. I'm like, oh my, I've never touched that amount of money, like 2021. And like looking back, it's like, then you start like, you know, going to conferences and you start hearing like 25-year-olds or 24-year-olds making like $10 million. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, how do I even get to that level? You know what I'm saying? And I think it's not just about the networking, but it's about like just changing your surrounding completely, changing industries, because there's only so much you can do as a door-to-door sales.
Yeah, the thing with door-to-door, if I started a door-to-door company, what I would do different is how they recruit. So when I was recruited, what they sell you on riches and gold and, you know, El Dorado and all this stuff, and you're kind of stupid.
Buy your cafeteria.
You're kind of stupid and dumb, and so you buy it, right? So I went through that, and I made okay money, but it wasn't, you know, anything to brag about. I was one of the top rookies, but, you know, again, it wasn't anything to brag about. I don't know. I think he's still the CEO. The CEO at the time was Adam Shantz. I think he's still there, and he outsold me in like a couple days what I did the whole summer. I've never seen anyone who could sell. He sell like 20 alarms a day, and I'd probably average like, if you took like one a day, if that. Anyway, so that's a long story, but the way they recruit you is they sell you on these riches. What I would do is I'd say, hey, you're gonna come in here, you're gonna sell for us for a year or two, whatever the agreement is, and then it's like, we're going to help you take those sales skills and move them online or something that pays more, right? Because I actually had a recruiting company that does like online high ticket sales. And like, if you think about my trajectory, I didn't know at the time, but door-to-door sales was a gateway to what I do now. And then when I crushed it. I was like, oh my gosh, these people like me. They want to get on the phone. They want to be here. They want to pay for stuff. It was like door-to-door. They hate you. They don't like you. They don't know who you are. 20-something plus objections. On high ticket sales, I think maybe you get 4: price, spouse, belief, time. Like, I didn't even think about it. So that's what I would change in the recruiting, because I think the way they recruit, they try to make it like this long-term thing, and I think that's wrong. Like, what I would do is say, look, this won't be forever thing, but these skills you're going to learn is going to make you way more money, and then, you know, possibly work with a company, and a recruiting company that will get them placed in high ticket sales roles. That's what I would do. I mean, the way they sold it to me, it was kind of stupid, but I just had so much grit and determination. I stuck through it. A lot of guys, when they get out there, I mean, they would quit in the first 2 days. I mean,
that's crazy. That's crazy. And I think I want to talk about systems, because I feel like systems are so important.
Sure.
You know, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I remember when Robert Kiyosaki was talking about the whole McDonald's example, and he gave an example saying like, Big Mac is not even that great.
Yeah.
And he gave like, you can actually get your mom to make a beautiful like cheeseburger, a nice patty and everything. And he's like, why do people continually go to McDonald's? The fact that it's a system in place. You get there, you order, and you buy what you order as well.
Right.
How important is systems in a business?
yeah, I mean, tracking is really important. I think I grew my business at 300,000 a month, and we were just running off Google Sheets, to be honest with you. Not the best. I would say the most important thing though for tracking is obviously, you know, like your sales and your ads, and then the client fulfillment. Like, making sure you're really tracking that. So like, you can use project management software like Basecamp. We have a white label, go high level now, called Elite 360. You know, people are familiar with that, or you can just use plain old Excel sheets. But I don't like to go over the top. Like, I think some people will like track to oblivion, but I'm a little bit more like shoot first, ask questions later, and some people are the opposite. But I do think having some systems is important, especially as you scale, because when you scale, you just want to get rid of those, like, you want to automate those repetitive tasks as much as you can. When you're small, you don't notice as much. But that's what makes scaling hard is like when you scale, people think you're doing different stuff. You're not doing different stuff. You're just doing 10 times more of the same thing. And that's what makes it difficult. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Now, somebody out there is going to be a small business owner and want to try and upscale. What are the first steps they can do to try and reach out to you, and like what can they expect if they're perhaps making like $150,000 a month?
Yeah, so I mean, if someone came to me and they're making $150,000 a month, the first team I'm gonna assess is like their offer, their team, and then their lead generation, right? Because like in short, to keep it simple, everyone who comes to you who wants to make more money, they need more leads. Like period. It doesn't really matter how you slice it. It's like they need more leads. So I'd look at how they're getting their traffic, and then I'd come up with a solution either with paid ads or organic strategy that's going to get them a lot more traffic. So for most people, they have to use paid ads. And the reason I say that is, even if you have a big organic following, unless you're Mr. Beast and every post you put out there just goes viral and grows you're going to have a limitation to how big your business can get organically. So like I have a client, we'll just call her Jessica, and she's doing about 120,000 a month, but she has like 500,000 followers on Instagram. And every month, I mean, she can pretty much do that, but she wants to get bigger. She wants to get, to 400,000, 500,000. And to me, like her biggest issue getting there is like she needs a lot more lead flow, but she's not going to get it from organic, right? And there's like, I don't personally know what to tell her. It's like, hey, we need to get 3 times more views on your post. So then that's where ads come into play. And depending on how well she runs them or how good she is at it, that's going to determine how fast she grows. I don't think scaling is really that difficult. It's just usually the skill sets are not there. So you'll meet someone and maybe they have they're really good at organic content and they're really good at sales, but they don't know paid ads and they don't know systems, right? And so to become well-rounded and make a lot of money, I think what's great about this industry is a lot of the, I keep saying billionaires, but I've interviewed quite a few, and a lot of them that went on and made a lot of money, self-made billionaires, like in 2 years. Justin Hartfield, he made Weed Maps. Scott Cohen sold Byte, B-Y-T-E. It was like in a competitive Invisalign. Like they had internet marketing backgrounds and then they went into other industries. And I think the benefit there is when you think of venture capital, great ideas, horrible execution. Like they'll come in, great idea. I'm like, they have no idea how to run the company. In this industry, people really, on average, if you can run a company A to Z, you can do all the skills. Man, if you can take that into other industries, you can really make a lot of money. So anyways, going back to your question, ultimately, I'd see what they have and then look at how we're going to increase lead generation and then push my foot on that, because ultimately that's what a lot of people want. And if you want to make more money, you need more calls, you need more leads. So it's like, how are we going to create more leads?
I love that, man. I love that so much. Now, I'm talking now for myself over here. I want to just share with you. So I've already... I'm going to be starting a business.
Good for you.
Personally, for me, I've already networked with entrepreneurs. Mainly, I've networked with professional sports players.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be creating a swag where it's going to be getting like their own, like a brand kind of thing. You know
Right.
how Nike's got like Jordan
Right.
and
Yeah,
all,
for each
but for like
person,
the
yeah.
swag and then coming together into like one store as well.
Sure.
And like it's so far the connections as well. It's just about like utilizing, try and make sure the contract is beneficial for both parties.
Sure.
Where we're going to be pumping a lot of obviously ads and so forth, and we're doing the marketing, we're doing the videography, we're doing
Right.
everything. They're just going to be promoting it on their platform and so
Right.
forth as well.
Right.
Now, why I'm saying this, I'm going to come to you obviously in terms of consulting, which I feel like you can upscale that, but at the same time, I'm bringing this up because you've cracked the paid ads market, because people are using paid ads, but yours is so effective that I've seen you on 3 different platforms. Is it because I clicked your profile? How have you cracked that code?
Yeah. So, I mean, number one with paid ads to work at scale, usually you need either a high ticket back end or you need to be a front end. Because, for example, if you were selling something for $50, the problem usually that people have and they don't foresee is that it's going to cost you $150 to get a $50 sale. So you lost $100. So a lot of people, if you're not selling something super high price, you have to go more influencer marketing, right? So you might, I connect with Tom Brady and he's like, yeah, I'll just do it for free. I don't know. That obviously is way out there, but that would kind of be the path. Because of my back end, I have $16,000, $48,000, $100,000 packages. We can pump the ads pretty hard, and we don't have to make that many sales to make a return. So we can be super aggressive. the second part of that to your question is just we're really good on retargeting. So if someone comes in my ecosystem, usually it's just you click on an ad, like anything. You click on an ad, you come to my profile, like very broad. We'll just put you in retargeting until oblivion.
But do you teach that as well? The paid ad stuff?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean,
part of your consulting
yeah,
thing, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, because I've spent $30 million of my own money on ads. You know, if you include my clients, it's even higher. But for me, that's like, it's been a blessing and a curse. So, you know, the blessing has been I've made a lot of money. The curse is that, you know, if paid ads stop being as effective, you don't make as much money, right? So in a perfect world, the best strategy, if you can pull it off, is you get really viral organically or famous, right? So because I brought Hermosi up, we'll just stick with him. He blew up on socials, and then you just do retargeting only. He get like, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think he gets like 100 million impressions a month on Instagram. If you get 100 million impressions a month and you just do retargeting, what that means is all your ads are going to be shown to only the people who view your Instagram or YouTube, right? So in that case, like, you're going to get a lot more sales because they know who you are. If you run cold ads, they can still convert, but they're like, who's this Tanner guy? I've never seen him, et cetera, right? So the hard part with like that, you know, getting 3 million subs on YouTube and stuff is like, it's not that easy. If you can pull it off, you'll make a lot of money though. So most people, because they can't pull that off, they have to go to ads sooner. And so, you know, I push my clients towards ads pretty quickly, because if I'm coaching you and you're trying to get results fast, that's just the nature. Like, you could come to me and I'd say, hey, in 3 years, you'll hit your goal. Like, you don't want to hear that. So the only way to really push the business quickly is paid ads. Because if I said, hey, we're going to grow your YouTube, well, like, I can't control like how fast that's going to be. And it could take years. Like, I've been doing YouTube, not consistently, but I would say you could go back maybe like 4 years. Mm-hmm. I've got 30,000 subs. It's not that much if you think about the amount of work I've put in, right? But I'm just like the person who's going to play business for the long haul. Most people are not willing to do that. So you got to get into paid ads much sooner. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been a big part of my growth. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't.
Awesome stuff. Now I want to, and I'm grateful for all the insights you've shared, and I want to just conclude with obviously 2 questions. I'm grateful that you stressed on that, and I think I'm glad you actually gave exact figures or round off or close enough figures of how much you're paying, because people will pay like $10. Oh no, I'm not getting no result from paying my $10 ad. It's like that stuff doesn't work. You got to keep pumping it as well. Yeah. And one thing I'm grateful for is that with my YouTube, it's like one of those slow and steady stuff. What I did, I started targeting successful entrepreneurs, yourself, like Andy Elliott, Bradley, Keaton Hoskins, the muscle. And what happened is I was fortunate enough to make sure that when they started off, that market ended up like coming to like my YouTube, and now I almost have like the same people, because YouTube shows analytics where you see the same people watching the same videos. So like I almost have like an 80% subscriber to watch ratio. Oh, like when I think Jimmy Rex's interview was like 27,000, I only have like 21,000 or 20,000. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you know, that thing has worked, even though like people may seem like, hey, listen, it's slow and steady. I get paid off monetization and off like watch hours at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think most people should do that. It's just most people aren't willing to be patient, right? So like, if you could get, let's say, to 200,000 subs and it took you 10 years, I'd make the argument that, you know, it's like that's going to pay off at some point, but it's just most people are like 10 years is a long time, right? And I would agree. Like, you know, when I started my business, I failed for 2 years. I wasn't going to go much longer. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad I was able to run ads to be successful. But I think in the long run, building a brand is so beneficial because it's free traffic. That's the biggest thing. Because if you look at my expense sheet at the end of the month, 60% is ads. So if I didn't run ads, I'd make 60% more profit. Wow. It's a huge number, right? And that's at scale, obviously. But if you cannot generate enough eyeballs, then you have to pay for it. And so, you know, if the ads work, it's great and hunky-dory and all that stuff. But that's why people like, you know, Mr. Beast, he's a billionaire because he generates free leads. And most people, that's the most important thing to get. Like, it's the most valuable metric you can get. And that's why, like, if you get in that position, people will pay through the nose to get, you know, a contract with you or do a sponsorship with you and stuff like that. It's crazy. So
I love that so much. Now, Tanner, I ask this question to every single guest as we conclude. I think it's because it's the code to winning insights you need today to seize the world tomorrow. In your personal definition, what is winning?
I mean, a few years ago, probably like 2021, I probably would have said, how much money you're making, right? I think what's helped me a little bit is I'm a very type A personality, so it's just like you're winning, you're losing, you're doing, you're not, type thing. But when I hit 2 million a month, I was buying a lot of, supercars, and, I was doing like the typical Miami thing. And I had a party. I mentioned this on a few podcasts, but I had a party and people showed up and I didn't know everyone. The guy looked at me and he said, whose house is this and whose party is this? I was like, oh, it's mine. And, I just, hit a huge revenue number and da-da-da. And he was like, cool. Like, he didn't care. And that really affected me almost in a bad way, because I just given my life for 18 months to hit this goal, right? And he didn't care. And it blew my mind. And I was like, I'm making more money than 99.9% of humans on earth, but you don't care, right? That took me down kind of a little bit of a dark path for a while, because I got a little, I don't know if you want to say I was depressed. When I hear depressed, I feel like nothing's wrong. I feel like, I had a good reason. But I guess to answer your question, what I feel it is now is just doing your best every day. Like, if you can get up and you live in a first world country and you have a cell phone, you have Wi-Fi, and you can just do your best, that's the big thing. And that's the most important, because like, results will always change. No matter how good you do, someone is doing better. And so to me, like, I just want to do my best. And I think the reason I think that way now is because when I think back, I actually had an accident a couple months ago that could have killed me. Apparently is what they said. I had a pretty serious concussion. I fell off a scooter, got hit by a car. I don't know. But they said they were like, Tanner, you almost died. Like, did you have any regrets? And I just said, nah. Like, I felt I didn't have any regrets. Like, there's stuff I wish I had done better, but I've done my best, I feel. And so I think that's really the key to life at the end of the day, is like, when you're on your deathbed, whatever you've accomplished is cool. But I think the question you're going to ask yourself is like, did I do my best? And if you've done your best, then like, what else is there? And that, to me, that would be what winning is.
Powerful. If you could let our viewers know where they could get a hold of you, if they want to
Sure.
get consulting and learn more about business and stuff as well.
Yeah, sure. So you guys can just follow me at Tanner.Chidester anywhere. Best place to get a hold of me is just shoot me a DM on Instagram, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or try to help you build your business.
The code to winning: insights you need today to seize the world tomorrow. Tanner Chidester, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.